Changes are coming later this week through an agency within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Moving forward, there will no longer be a research requirement for transplanting kidneys and livers from donors with HIV to recipients with HIV. Joining us now is Nina Martinez. In 2019, she became the first person ever living in the United States with HIV to donate a kidney to another HIV-positive person. Welcome to the show, Nina.
Thank you so much for having me, Chesley.
All right, walk us through the process of the donation when you did it, and how big of an ordeal was it?
Well, every person with HIV, just like a donor without HIV, has to pass a standard medical evaluation. So that part was pretty much the same. And then the original legislation, which is the HIV Organ Policy Equity Act of 2013 that allowed these transplants, put in place a few more requirements for people with HIV, specifically under research, so that we could show people that these transplants were safe and effective, transplanting these organs from donors with HIV to recipients with HIV. So that whole screening process and evaluation for me took 8.5 months, and then in March of 2019, I was able to donate my kidney.
So talk to me, how would these changes have impacted you if you were to donate now under these new conditions?
So what the changes that are coming this week do is say that we have enough data from the more than 500 transplants that have taken place in this country under research protocols. We know that these transplants are safe and effective for recipients with HIV and end-stage kidney and liver disease. It pretty much removes the research requirements, and so not every transplant center was approved to do the research. There are 250 centers in this country, and only about 30 or so were approved to do the research. I couldn't donate here locally in Atlanta as a living donor. There is a transplant center here that handles deceased donors with HIV, but I'm very much alive. And so because of the fact that I couldn't donate here locally, I had to go to Baltimore 10 times to be evaluated, to participate in their research protocol, to pass the standard donor evaluation, and to do the required follow-up that allowed us to collect the data and show that the transplant worked. And now people with HIV do not have to participate in research. It means that they can be evaluated just like a living or deceased donor if people choose to register to donate upon death, that they don't have to have these extra research requirements that had been pretty cumbersome and prevented full implementation of the HOPE Act.
Nina, can you lay out what positive and negatives are tied to this move?
The positives is that having more donors shortens the wait list for everyone. So while people tend to believe that these changes only benefit people with HIV, the fact is that people who are living with HIV and not living with HIV share the same transplant wait list. So shortening the wait list helps everybody waiting. So when I donated, not only did I help my recipient living with HIV, but he came off the list, which meant that the next available deceased donor HIV negative organ could go to the next person waiting.
So how do you respond to people who have ethical concerns about this?
The research was ethically conducted. You had to have an institutional research board to approve these studies, and moving out into standard practice, what we're saying is that, again, you have a standard evaluation. People have to, as a donor in a regular standard evaluation, you have to say that I agree to this medical decision I'm making for myself. And on the recipient side, they're informed that their donor has HIV, and they're asked, are you sure? They're asked during this informed consent process before transplant, and the new policies do a double verification of the recipient's HIV status and their willingness to accept an organ from a donor who has HIV. So all of the ethical considerations have been pretty much worked out since the 2013 legislation. We've done the work, we've done the science, and now we're ready for full implementation to benefit people with HIV who historically didn't have access to transplantation. They'll have expanded access. They've always been able to elect a donor who does not have HIV, but as I like to say, there's more kidneys for more open-minded people.
All right, Nina Martinez, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.